Namaste, beloved family across the globe. This is Shauna Ava, and I am so excited to be back with a fresh new episode of Heart on Radio. I know I took a really long break. It was necessary. There were so many energies to navigate, and I'm sure you all know just what I'm talking about and have experienced that perhaps in your own vortex, but it inspired me to dig deeper and expand higher. And so I'm really appreciative for the now moment and what I might be able to offer you after a compilation of experiences throughout the years. So thank you so much for tuning in, for being here, for sharing your light and your presence. I honor you, and I am so, so grateful. And speaking of grateful, I have one of my dearest, loveliest BFFs, Barbara Hudak, joining me today from Heartful Intergrations, also SiSTAR Code Alchemy. She is a Reiki Master, a Reiki teacher, HeartMath Master, I think that might be the term, if I can use that term, an essential oil alchemist. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit of heart math, a little bit of essential oils and how that can assist with grounding the heart, but mostly how to cultivate more of that coherent heart state in your life. So without further ado, Barb Hudak, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, I am excited to be here with you. I've long awaited to see you back and in the seat and spreading your heart and your information to the world. So I'm excited to be with you today.
I know you have. Thank you. You've always been my cheerleader, and we've done a lot of this on your couch and my couch. So now I guess we're just doing this in a more formal format. But I want to chat today about the heart. We're talking about the heart. We're talking about the higher heart and coherence and what all of that means, and demystifying it and giving some examples and tools for our toolkit of things that we can do to activate the heart and help us soothe ourselves so we can drop into the heart, and all these amazing things that you are pretty much your life's career, your work has drawn you into this direction. So it's very exciting to chat about this with you, because on your website you have Reiki, you have your SiSTAR Code Alchemy, which is essential oils to assist with this process, and then heart math. And you were a registered nurse, is that right? So
Yeah.
you have like a huge toolbox of things to share with us. So I really appreciate it. And I guess if we could start with a pinch about your background, because it's fascinating story how everything led you to where you are now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's out of necessity that I've gone through all these different paths because I just didn't have the tools and the equipment, let's say, to I don't know, just to kind of make it through life. It was a lot of stress and a lot of self-inflicted, self-imposed perfection, and it's got to be right and it's not good enough. And yeah, you can do that for a little bit, I realized, but over time it just wasn't really sustainable. And so I was in the military first. I did my nursing career there. Then I went to help open the Mayo Clinic. Yes, yes.
Gracias. Mm.
It was always been like a very structured life. And I realized that, I like the structure, but I like to punch the walls a little bit and just kind of bust out of that and find my own way. And I realized very quickly once I moved to Arizona that this holistic world opened up for me, where I got into Reiki in '98, I think, when we first moved here. And it just was a steady progression of looking at holistic nursing and what other things can we offer. And coming from a really Western medicine kind of background, where Mayo Clinic is like, the world leader in all the things for Western medicine. So it's highly esteemed, looked up to, and it's very much a protocol and research and things like that. So I still felt like there was something missing. And so that's when I started to explore energy work, massage therapy, essential oils. And so that's kind of has been a little bit jack of all trades to find what really works And I found that everything works differently for different people.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, but there's what I find fascinating is that the world of heart math is really geared towards people who have come more from your background, and so paramedics and policemen and firemen and these high stress situations, but you don't necessarily have to be in that type of profession in order to experience that, because I used to have and still continue to deal with moments of like, it's like an inner heart meltdown where you're just like, there's just this anxiety that kicks in. And for whatever it is, for me, a lot of it was actually around public speaking and showing up as my authentic self. And I know that a lot of star seeds and people in general can connect with this. But what can you chat about a bit with in regards to people who are in those high stress type of job situations or lifestyles?
Yeah, it's almost a badge of honor when you're in those positions. I used to work in the ER and did trauma and intensive care and just loved that adrenaline rush and that idea that you never know what's going to happen around the corner. It was really exciting until it wasn't. And so I think it's like, this is really stressing me out. But I think that's the thing, is realizing that, my only thought when I first got into this, and I was invited to be a part of a research study at Mayo, and our chief nurse said, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this?" Now I realized, you probably saw, I was a little more stressed than I thought I was. But the idea to me was, I don't have time to de-stress. I'm not going to be effective if I'm not in this heightened state. And I don't really particularly do meditation. It was really hard for me to do, or grab a yoga mat. It just wasn't not how I'm wired. So when I got into this process, we did get a sensor that, you clip on the ear, and it just shows you your level of how tuned in your heart is, how aligned your nervous system is. And what I saw, and what I was really surprised and a little bit frustrated, I guess, when I saw that this was showing me that I was at a high level of stress, but my heart rate was in the 60s. And I thought, well, this doesn't make sense, because to me, when I'm relaxing, which is what I was doing, that should be a good thing. And what I really realized is there's a difference between heart coherence and relaxation. Because for me, I was sitting on the couch rehashing my day, not necessarily at a heightened state with a lot of adrenaline, but just replaying, marinating in that cortisol that I had been producing all day. And then no wonder, day after day after day, I was like on this very high level of just go, 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 go. It wasn't big, but it was the subtlety that I never would have noticed if I wouldn't have had that sensor. And so I look at this for, like you shared, police officers, law enforcement, to give them the idea that you're going to have to slow down, grab a yoga mat and meditate is just going to be like, that's not even going to be, there's no way it can fit into my life. So these techniques that they teach through the HeartMath Institute is things you can do in the moment while you're running into a burning building for firefighters, when you're responding to a call, when you're in the emergency room and there's a helicopter coming in with a trauma. You can't step away and say, I'm going to go, do my thing or grab a margarita, because you get in trouble for that. Not that I know. But the idea of, can you do these techniques in the moment, and to give permission and to reset your body to do that? It can be very, very foreign for people that are in highly active type of jobs.
That's what's amazing, is that you can shift yourself that fast. So tell us a little bit about what is happening, like what it takes to shift yourself. That's because you don't have time to be like, oh, can I take a 20-minute break to just tune in with myself and then I'll be able to respond to this stressful situation? No, there's no time for that. And then we all experience high stress in 2020 and beyond. Oh. And we saw the decisions that were being made when people were in that frequency. So let's talk about what it takes to make that small adjustment that can do so much.
Well, and just what you shared is, just because we know this doesn't mean that we're not going to have stress. We're not going to have, there's not a magic wand that comes with the sensor or with the program. We still go through life. But to your point of how do you do it that quickly, these techniques are so simple. It's almost like if I were to say what it is, the first step, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is what you're coming to talk about? It's like, yeah. But the idea is, can you do it in the moment when everything's hitting the fan. And that's where the practice comes in, because it's basically rewiring our nervous system, and it does take time. And so, for example, the first step, the first technique and the first step of all the techniques is something called heart focused breathing. And it's basically focusing your attention here, and then just imagining that breath is flowing in and out of the heart, chest area, breathing a little bit slower and deeper than usual.
It really brings you into the present moment, is my experience of it.
Yeah, and it's that fast. And I think helping people to understand, for myself, it was like, yeah, that's really quick, but in the next micro moment, I'm going to be back into my old default. Yeah, so this is why we practice it when we don't need it. And that's the rewiring and the neural pathways that get reset. It's like we get to reprogram ourselves. So I think, those of us that say, well, this is just the way I am. I'm a worrier, I'm anxious, I'm this. It's like that's a default pattern, and having a lot of compassion, because that is a story that we say. It's like, well, this is normal to be anxious and normal to be worried in this world that we're living in. Yeah, but how is it supporting you? Is it sustainable? If every time I worry about something, or I go into fear, or I go into anxiety, it may be warranted, but do I really want to dose myself with cortisol and these other biochemicals over and over and over, when instead I could not suppress, but just tune in and go, wait a minute, I'm feeling a little anxious right now. What can I do? First, it's awareness. And then what do I do about it? Just that simple focusing on the heart and breathing. At some point, we get so good at it that we just do it on demand and nobody knows we're doing it. It becomes like a little Jedi skill set. They're like, oh, you're so calm. I'm like, because I practiced for months for this moment.
I love that. That's a little sexy breathing secret. So I don't know why for me it is though. I mean, being present to me is one of the most powerful, beautiful gifts that we can have, because people sense that. And when we hold that higher frequency state, we essentially hold the field for the room and the space around us. So that's very appealing. So I mean, it's called Hard On Radio for a reason. I have a sense of humor. All right.
You do.
But there's so much in what you just shared. And I want to go back to the fact that it is a muscle. So although it's something that is a shift that you can participate in the moment and put intention on, it sounds like you were working this muscle like you would any other muscle. So what does that look like at home for someone when they want to do some of this intentional breath work?
Yeah, so I call it my emotional boot camps, because when I do coaching with clients and with people who are becoming HeartMath certified, so I'm a master trainer for the Institute, and really helping people who are seeking that, like, how can I do this? This should be bigger. This should be harder. It's like, it's really simple. That's just the first step. All the other techniques build on that. But exactly what you're sharing is, imagine, if you've not ever done meditation or a stillness practice or anything, prayer, whatever it is that gets you into that calmer state, and now you're taking a very high frequency, sympathetic overdrive person and saying, now I want you to take a breath. Just that first breath, they're like, okay, this is really weird, because I'm not used to doing it. Because when we're stressed, we hold our breath, or we breathe really shallow. So even just that first time that they do it can be very awkward. And then at some point, it's easing this, because the brain is saying, look, I'm on overdrive. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to kind of look at what the situation is here and keep you safe. And so the brain's always going, what's wrong? What can I do? This guy gets very upset when we start going down to the heart. Like, what are we doing down here? I'm going to be out of a job. It's like, so it gets very chatty. It gets very, I don't know. Like, I remember doing the first few times, I thought of things I'd never thought of. Like, well, don't forget the laundry. Yeah. I'm like, really? That's going to come in? And don't forget the eggs. I'm like, okay, well, why are we talking about eggs? I'm trying to de-stress. And it was so strange. And it might be similar to what people experience when they're starting a new habit, whether it's meditation or whether it's any new habit. It could be any skill. And so initially having that compassionate latitude for ourselves to go, oh my gosh, this is really hard. This should not be difficult, but not judging, not criticizing. It's just knowing that every time we drop in, we're cultivating. I call it a touchstone. Like, this is my space that I've created over time that I can come back to anytime, anywhere, no matter what's happening around me, for the most part, much more than I used to be able to self-regulate and go, whoa, pause, breathe, because that breath creates a choice point. So I'm not like reacting like I used to, just react to everything. And now it's just, even people would look at me and go, well, you're different. Like, yeah, it's taken me a lot of work. But you asked how would you do that? It's the repetition, repetition, repetition. And then when we add the emotion, which is another part of HeartMath, we start looking and generating emotions that are beneficial, that are, we call them renewing emotions. Things like appreciation and love and compassion and gratitude. And it's not just the softer type of, I call them kind of squishy feelings, like the snuggly things. It's also working with law enforcement and firefighters and military: courage, bravery, valor, accomplishment, excitement, whatever that is that lights you up. Dropping that into your heart, that changes your biochemistry. Now you're producing oxytocin, you're producing DHEA, which is a vitality hormone, gives you more energy. It's also called the anti-aging hormone. So I'm just saying, because sign me up. I heard that. I was like, okay, I could use some of that.
Yeah, maybe HeartMath just needs a little more rebranding. And you get people in with like, this is the way, the fountain of youth, which I really truly believe that it is. It's all connected to the heart. And it's also that 0 point, that breath, that moment to make a choice. I've always felt like the breath is the 0 point, that sort of elusive 0 point that we chat about. But I think we all have an intuition of what that means. Yeah. And it brings you to a state of presence and choice, and then your creativity of what timeline and what choice you're stepping into and decision you're stepping into next. So this is very powerful stuff here. And I honor you so much for bringing this forth more and more into the world. And we have a play shop we're creating this coming weekend, which is really exciting because we're going to play with this a bit more and co-create with others in this more, because there's also the coherent field we can create with others, which is even more powerful. And that really starts to tap into what I feel is the ascension process and the work that we have here in anchoring more of this light and this heart frequency. But I want to just, I don't want to give too much away, I guess. Like, we got to save some of it for those who are coming. I'm really excited for people who are going to be present. I mean, we have so many magical beings here in Sedona and all over the world, but to be able to come together in Sedona is very exciting. So I'm really looking forward to any of you who are listening, watching, who are going to be there. I'm very excited to do this together. But we're talking about breath, but I want to bring in then some of the visualizations and some of the perhaps essential oils and some of the mantras you may use. So what else can people start to get creative and play with in this realm?
Yeah, that's the fun part. And so I do love the science of all this stuff. So I remember, now I mentioned the sensor. So the sensor that HeartMath offers is called the inner balance sensor, and it looks at how your nervous system is aligned. And so what you are sharing is like, yeah, we are affecting the field basically, but internally, especially, the heart is sending much more information up to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. So when I can focus, we cannot think our way into coherence. Dr. McCready says this multiple times. He says we can think it and we want it, and it's reprogramming it through the heart. And I think what you're just sharing is, what else can really catalyze that? What can be the accelerator, something that can get us from here to here much more quickly? I do love shortcuts. I'm a kind of that way. It's like, okay, just show me, accelerate it. Let's just do it because it's taking too long. But so that's where I think this was born, a love of our essential oils. So Yes, the company is called SiSTAR Code Alchemy, and it all came out of this beautiful pyramid that was made by Rion at Team Light. And it was probably about 3 years ago now. And that's when I got the downloads to put the oils in the pyramid, put some crystals in the pyramid. And I'm like, what is happening? Because it was just, I never thought, I mean, I love essential oils. I've been blending forever, but not in this way. And what was shown is these are going to be amplified and accelerated because they can be imprinted. The crystals can be imprinted. And then if you really focus on the heart intention, you can start to see some really cool alchemy. And this is measurable with couple of two devices that we have. And it's curious because those blends that are working on the heart frequency, especially really things like rose, geranium, ylang ylang, even some of the stronger woods for like grounding and stability really help to accelerate that heart coherence. And then the heart, once that rhythm is smooth, we've set the stage, that signal goes up to the brain. Now the brain entrains with that. Now our whole system comes into alignment. And I think what I didn't realize when I first got into this work was, wait a minute, how do I manifest? How do I create things? If I'm disrupted internally, I'm never going to align with the divine flow, which is, I feel like I've seen this as a sine wave too. So if the universe is this wave and I'm on this wacky, chaotic, frenetic energy, it's a mismatch. So if I can line up, now I'm more intuitive, I can manifest much more quickly. And that to me was, okay, now I've got a fast track to manifestation because, shortcuts.
That is so true. I do like me a shortcut too, because let's face it, it is a lot. The task at hand is pretty large for being on the front lines of this ascension experience. So dealing with your day-to-day life, your sort of 3D existence, as well as wanting to incorporate and anchor higher frequencies and what's next and the evolution of it. So it is a lot it feels like a lot sometimes to really be in this experience. And then, like you said, get into coherence so you then can start to play and manifest and co-create in this experience. And that's where things start to get lighter and more fun.
That's it. And exactly to your point, it's like, and when I say shortcut, I don't mean that we're bypassing or that we're not dealing with that stuff. It's giving that more reserve. Like if I have a lot of capacity inside of me, look, if I'm running on this much energy, everything's going to be a hassle. Everything's going to be, harder. And just, we see the world through how we feel. And so if I'm feeling, stressed or depressed or anxious, and I've been all those, how can I create from that place? We really can't. And if I do create, it's probably not something that, it's maybe perpetuating that same cycle. So if I now have an opportunity to just pause, maybe see it differently and go, wait a minute, what else could this be? And we do it often enough, over and over. We add the emotions, we add some essential oils, we add some, it's like we're tuning up the heart. Those situations are still there, but they're not as significant. We can deal with them with more grace and more ease, and just a little, like you said, a little bit more fun, a little bit more lightness, and just go, wow. And compassion to go, well, look at us. Here we are doing the best we can and helping each other, and just finding those tools that can help us to kind of create a little bit more flow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about that cultivation of what we can do, small practices every day that more and more just become like brushing your teeth or second nature to you, essentially. And for me, I know a lot of it is like gratitude and just these small moments where you can plug some gratitude in for like, oh, this hot, delicious shower that I'm in right now. And oh, this meal that's in front of me. And oh, the way that the birds just tweeted next to me and it sounded so beautiful. And I know these are such small things, but society has really taken us away from that. And so dropping back into that, it starts to become this beautiful reverence to everything that's happening around you. And the world becomes very magical. And that, I think, is what you're mentioning with that joining that flow state, that wave state of frequency with the universe.
That's right.
That, I feel, is the state that we truly are. So
Well, and just as you're saying that, I mean, I've known you for a little bit, and it's just like you are one of the most heart-based beings that I've met on this planet. And it is a truly just reflecting and just honoring you for that. This took me years to train myself to get to this place. And it's still, I look at you and I go, wow, that's amazing. So, and I share that because some of us are maybe more wired for that. And some of us, it takes a little bit more. And maybe we come in with the heart on and then we get shut down because like for in the hospital, I dealing with survival for me was just like, don't feel anything because you're going to just fall apart. And so I shut it, didn't feel anything bad, but didn't really feel anything. So I was like, now I'm going, oh, okay, just going through the motions. So what you're sharing is that ability to reconnect with that which is our true essence and is just the source of all and the source of joy and fun and lightness in the midst of chaos and all this distress that we're going through, being these beacons of light, beacons of heart. That's the portal. In my opinion, the portal of like we're connected to cosmic heart, connected to the Mother Earth's heart, and then through our heart, it just radiates out to each other.
Totally, because even on the technological waves that we're on right now, Barb, I'm so my I could get weepy because I'm just really appreciative, and this is the reflection that's so necessary right now. I keep saying that, and I will continue to say that as we move through a lot of these energies, but especially through these eclipse season of Scorpio and Taurus energy. This reflection, this honest, authentic, heart-centered reflection, to hold that space and to feel that and bounce that off of each other is reprogramming the imprints that we've had, traumatic fears, illusions, all from the past is clearing away, and these new higher heart imprints are available. I was shown earlier in the year in a dream this template of the Mother Mary and Christ at heart. It's kind of sitting over where Egypt was. I know I've shared this with you before, but it was right at the Lionsgate 8-8 portal. And there is such higher heart cosmic love, intelligence, and frequencies and geometries that are pouring in right now onto the planet. And some of the detox of what isn't in coherence with that is uncomfortable and dropping away. So there will be like days that could be more challenging, but that frequency is here and is available. And this is why we want to get this play shop together. We are creating this play shop, and I'm just very grateful and excited to be doing this with you and Commander Rion and our Kakao brothers, because that's going to be beautiful as well. Because you got to throw everything at it right now as far as like cacao. I mean, I have another girlfriend who works beautifully with, and I'm still very ignorant to this, but there is some powerful mushroom medicine if people are requiring that through trauma, and so much more science is coming out about supporting how beneficial that can be for people. So getting into nature, throwing everything at it is what I'm saying is sort of what we're requiring.
Yeah. And it's going to be so much fun because, again, I think each person has their own wiring and their own blueprint of what really will work. So even for some people, it might be like a quiet stillness. For some people, it might be dance, whatever that is. I think it's really, we're finding those ways of what feeds you and pausing and saying, does that feel good? Does that not feel good? Is it in alignment or is it not? And so we get to make these really big, I feel, choice points. And you were mentioning the portal 1212 is coming up too. So I was thinking about that yesterday, like, well, this is interesting that this play shop is just before that and just before the winter solstice. So we're gearing up for some huge, I think, heart activations with what we're doing. And I'm just really honored to be able to do this with both of you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you. And speaking of 12 to portal, doesn't your like SiSTAR code Alchemy maybe have a little sale going on? Can you mention more about that? What you're offering right now?
Yeah, we do. So we have created, it started with individual bottles. So we have a 7 chakra set. but we started individually because we were just beginners. We're like, I don't know what's going to work, what's going to go. And so a lot of our customers were saying, can you just make me a 7 chakra set? And we're like, okay. So there's actually 7 bottles in this rhinestone box. And it's they have specially Herkimer diamonds inside of them, red rocks, and then upgrades to all the different crystals. So these are all under the pyramid, programmed for your blueprint, and they're just waiting to be activated by whoever the recipient is. So we are offering right now until the 12/12 portal 22% off our chakra set. And that promo code is chakra 22, or is it chakra 22?
I was told it was chakra.
Chakra. Chakra 22.
And so people attending the event this weekend, they'll be able to play and see some of this in person and get a hands-on experience.
They will. And I created a custom blend for this event. It's called the Cosmic Heart Activation. Oh my gosh, it's our first one with white lotus and jasmine. So this is I know, this is like, so it gets me, like, I feel like I get high when I'm blending these. I'm in the pyramid and I'm like, woo, all right, this is going to be good. And then it just felt like there was so much angelic presence as well with this. So it'll be really interesting. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with everyone. Yay.
Me too. And like I said, whatever it takes, if you're doing lines of essential oils in your bathroom, Barb, no judgment. No judgment.
Whatever it takes.
It's interesting you say jasmine though, because I remember when I was living in California, when I would go on a run and there was this huge jasmine bush and I would run by it and literally get pulled back, like in the cartoons, almost float back to the bush. And I was just, what am I smelling? I loved the smell of it. Is there something to jasmine that carries a certain frequency? I'm sure it does.
Yeah, they are. And I don't know the specifics of it. I was actually looking in one of my books yesterday about rose, ylang ylang, the white lotus. They all have unique frequencies, just like, and I think that's the beauty of these essential oils is, looking at because I'm geeky, I like the biochemistry and the hexene ring and the whatever. It's just interesting how that molecule of the essential oil goes right to the amygdala, which is where we store our memories. So that's the fast track. It's another service that Natalie and I both do, where it's called like an aroma freedom type of technique, where you write out, you do a process of what's that situation, what's that thing that you're dealing with, that you hit a wall. You're like, I need some traction. Those essential oils actually go into the amygdala. It bypasses the thoughts. So it goes into the emotions. And that's where the stories are held. That's where the thoughts are held. So if you can get to the root cause, which is typically an emotion, now you have a huge activation and an awakening. So every single oil has different molecules in it. And it's plant medicine. I mean, really, it's plant spirit. And so that's really what we're going to be doing, is really just playing with bringing in, Mother Earth's goodness and just helping people to understand that and explore that and experience it.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I wanted to ask, are we going to play with the HeartMath monitor? I'm pinching my ear because it sits on the earlobe. It is. White.
It's like, I happen to have a HeartMath sensor. And actually, they are having a really big sale. If people are, and this is kind of a thing, they do it once a year, and they are having a smoking deal right now. But anyway,
I want to pick one up.
Well, it's the one I'll be showing you guys is the M-Wave Pro, and this is a computer-based version. So yeah, we can definitely do that if somebody is a willing and able participant. It's not invasive; it will not hurt you. It's just going to track what's happening. It's like a snapshot in the nervous system, and hopefully the goal will be to see what's the baseline and how quickly we can shift. So again, it's the empowerment factors, like, whoa, I was this, is what the equipment was showing, and now just by doing some of these techniques, which we'll walk through, I am feeling differently, and that equipment's showing a smoother wave. So to me, it's a nice visual of if you need that. Some people really just say, I can feel it. That's cool. For those that love the science and the metrics, this might be just a fun little play opportunity.
It is fun because finally science is starting to reveal itself more and more in alignment with spirit. We all already knew that, but it's nice that that tangible evidence is coming out. And so it is very exciting to me that we're going to get to play with that. I remember the first time using it, I had a little bit of testing anxiety just upon using that,
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, I want to be coherent right away. And then
Yeah.
I had to just sort of chill, drop into the heart. And I think you suggested that I start to feel into something that really opens my heart and feels good. So I went right to my cat, who I love so much, and my father and people I just loved. And then whoosh,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the other noise interference just fell away. And I was just very present with the love that I felt for those in my life. And wow, it can be that empowering, that fast.
That fast. And what you're saying is like, because you were thinking about it, I think that's the thing is like when we're typically in our head, we're usually not coherent because we're analyzing, we're processing. But to your point, when you can drop in and do that on demand, which is again a skill set. Some of us are really, I speak for myself, not really wired that way. It's like we're used to just go, don't feel because it doesn't really matter. You have to do your job anyways, just do it. So it's like reconnecting on demand to the heart to go, wait a minute, I can feel a certain way. I get to choose, regardless of the situation. People will say, well, yeah, but the world, look at the world. It's like, yeah, well, look at the world. Right. Can you choose a happy moment or something that you love, someone that you love on demand? It's like a biohack. Just like, and some of the studies that they show with HeartMath is they had a person in a lab that was hooked up to a sensor, not in a stressful situation at all, but they asked this person to recall something that really frustrated them in a heartbeat, chaotic, frenetic, incoherent. And then they just said, okay, now in this next split second, what's something that you appreciate? Don't have to say it, just really feel that. And very quickly, within a minute, not even, they were able to do it. So we are in charge of what we feel, regardless of the situation. To me, when I learned that, it's so much different than being the victim of, well, the world is this and that person is this and this one's being a bonehead. And it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, well, okay, stop. Are they really being that way? And it may be, but I get to choose. What do I do with that? So I think to me, that's like another skill set where you walk around and go, okay. And I don't want to curse things or like, push the button, but sometimes I will be driving here as well. And we know traffic is kind of wild in Sedona on the weekends. So I just say, all right, bring it on, bring it on. Let's see how I can manage this. Can I keep it together in their situations that traffic used to be a huge thing for me. And so I like to test myself too and say, well, let's see. And some days it just is what it is. So again, it's the compassion that it's not a fail safe. We have to keep practicing this over and over to keep reinforcing it. And once we get that secret sauce where we feel that feeling of whoever that is, whether it's your dad or your cat or whoever else, whatever, it could be a cup of coffee if that's what you love. I mean, that's one thing.
I know it is for you, girl.
Pumpkin spice creamer. Yeah, I am in heaven without even drinking it. It's awesome.
But again, something so simple that just brings you that lightness, that joy, and that gratitude of the present moment. So I'm excited and looking forward to doing and discussing and co-creating and playing more with you, Rion, everyone who's attending. And I'm so grateful to our beloved Debbie, who is hosting us as well. So shout out to the Sacred Vortex and shout out to our sister Natalie as well, who is a part of SiSTAR Code Alchemy and does amazing light language stuff and QHHT stuff. I mean, talk about hanging out with the X-Men. I mean, I'm really so humbled and honored to be in the presence of so many powerful beings who just continue to advance and actualize themselves more and more. And it helps all of us continue to do that for ourselves. So there you go. Another example of the coherent field that can be created. So Gosh, I love everything we're talking about. I could keep going, but I will cut myself off and just sign off with a little bit of spirit cards with our
Yes.
favorite John Moseley.
Awesome.
I love, am I saying that right? John Moseley.
Yeah, he has a new studio.
I
Did you
heard,
see?
and I
I was
hope
there the other
he's,
day.
it's already open.
He's in the process of configuring it, but I went to pick up some cards for a client and just love. It's such a sweet space.
Oh my
Lovely.
gosh. John Moseley, you his work is on another level. So say his work is so exceptional, creative. He writes it, he paints it, he
Yeah.
all the things. So I love this deck. We love this deck. And
Yeah.
the card that I got for the collective was Blossom. Blossom, patience, self-love, and acceptance. And I'll read just a little nugget here from the message. We sometimes think we have to do something extraordinary, be something better, or have something more before we are worthy to show up fully and be happy in the world. But just being ourselves and loving ourselves as we are is enough. Like the small bud that patiently blossoms into a flower, it's our destiny to be the brightest and fullest expression of ourselves. So we can relax. Nature and spirit know what they're doing. This card is a message that you don't need to become something better or different for your brilliance within to blossom and be celebrated. You are perfect as you are and right where you are at this moment. There is no one and nothing on earth more worthy of love than you. Just love yourself and let yourself be loved right where you're at and blossom as who you truly are, which is so beautiful.
Wow. That's so spot on with what we're doing. Just like, yes, this weekend is all about that, just expansion and activation and just being exactly who we are.
Yeah.
Wow. That's love. And the self-love. Oh, talk about heart. That's beautiful.
Yep. And I love that he mentions receiving love exactly where you're at. Because there's this long, there's been this misnomer of like we have to show up or be a certain way in order to even be worthy of any kind of love, which is absurd, old paradigm, and just completely not true. So this card is totally spot on. So thank you, Spirit, for that. And also the blossom, it just reminds me of the rose, which we know is I think the highest frequency flower. And to me, that has so much deep meaning and representation. And then I think of someone who said once that we are star seeds, but we are becoming star blossoms, which is really, I think it's Bridget Nielsen who said that at the conference one year, Cosmic Awakening. She was so right. From star seeds to star blossoms. So here we are, and thank you so much.
Oh, I just adore you, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to get to play and swirl. And I just love to just look at the picture with that heart, and you're like right there. It's like fantastica.
Yeah, is it big enough for you? It's like,
well, hey, size matters. How big is your heart?
See, this is why you're my bestie, Barb. You're right here. We're right here.
We got a segue.
We're coherent. Our comedy's coherent too.
That's right. I'm here all week, so
well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone listening and tuning in. I appreciate your presence so much. We feel your presence and looking forward to seeing those who attend this weekend and just sending immense love into the fields. And check out all the links. I will have Barb's links to all of her magical creations to somewhere in this creation that I send off into the planet. But thank you again, and I love you.
Love you too. Take care.